Chris, how is your pee break?
My pee break?
They might flash you. Undetected.
Random, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I too am a thought criminal.
Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
Around?
But how much do you actually understand money? Especially the new wave.
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor. Okay, everybody, I hate to brag. Actually, I don't, because I have the coolest guests ever on this show. And today's guest is really an anomaly, an enigma. She is beauty and brains. I also think she's just a freak of nature. We're going to get into it, but she is a NASA flight surgeon, amongst many things we're going to talk about today. I mean, it's not every day you get to talk to a NASA flight surgeon. People, this is one of the most specialized physicians on the planet, okay? So let me tell you a bit about my guest today, Tsung. She is triple board certified in, I'm reading this, by the way, off of my notes. Triple board certified in aerospace medicine, ER, ICU, MD, obviously specializes, she's the calm in the chaos, in harsh conditions. And she has also develop the 5 stages of time freedom, which we are going to talk about today. She's the CEO of Productivity MD, of which she has a show of the same name. So, Anne, welcome to Talk to Me, Taylor. I really do think are you even real? Are you a freak of nature? I'm going to talk about all the things that you've accomplished. And you and I did have a personal session, which I'll tell everybody about yesterday, about your time freedom structure. But welcome to the show. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. You're so kind to bring me on the show. And really, I think those are everything you read. It's really, truly the end result. But I want everybody to know you can really, truly achieve anything. If I could do that as a 9-year-old immigrant to the US, being in the class of English as second language till 7th grade, then anybody can do it with resilience, persistence, and micro steps.
Okay, here is the thing. I was actually going to save this till later, but we're going to do that. And the reason I had to read your very impressive background off my note, because who could remember all of this? Okay, including the following, which are just some of the things that you've accomplished, which is why I think that you talk about being an immigrant, like, are you an alien? I don't even know, like I said, if you are real. Okay, here are just some of the things. You traveled to all 7 continents, stepped on the South Pole by 33, saw all 7 world wonders by 27, with 0 real estate knowledge. You went to investing within 1 year by 34, assessed 2 commercial properties under contract, and bought a permanent residence within 6 months postpartum of your first child. Oh yeah, and the little thing of like a NASA flight surgeon. So are you even, I mean, the average person is like, well, I did my groceries today and did my to-do list. So how?
Yeah, before I had any help, I would say after my first child, I would say what pushed me to become even more, I guess, ruthless in saying no, was because I wanted to spend time with my child. And I started spending money to delegate things out, like having somebody to help us cook, to help us clean. And so I can get more face-to-face time instead of like, washing my pump bottles and sterilizing bottles instead of, so I want to spend time with the baby. So number 1 is like ruthlessly eliminate, which anyone can do. That doesn't take delegation. A very focused time in the chronotypes, like where you can do most of your deep work with 5x output, which we can talk about later. And then very protected time that with family only. And I think very importantly, actually, is to focus on your spouse and don't let your spouse go. So that's often the last thing that people talk about. But I feel like the way I'm able to do everything is because of teamwork. If you have a spouse, of course. But if you don't, then rely on the people around you. It's teamwork, just like the astronauts. It's a whole team.
Isn't that funny? There's so much there, first of all, to unpack. I was just gonna make a horrible pun. Like it is out of this world. But anyways, it's so crazy because it's a kind, and we got into this a little bit with my one-on-one session, which we'll talk about, but it's like we're in this culture of hustle and achievement, and we see everybody with their flashy accomplishments and getting it all done. And you're like, at the end of the day, it's boiled down to the interpersonal, the team, your spouse, your partner, right? Which is so overlooked and so crazy because we're so on the grind constantly. But with that, okay, something you and I definitely have in common, even though we could not be, no pun intended, but worlds apart, like planets apart, is our, willingness to empower people to break out of the matrix. And with what you do with time freedom, it is that in a way, right? It's a way of breaking out of you call it fake freedom, but I thought about it and it's like, right, whether it is hustle culture, grind culture, or the 9 to 5, do you see that as a form of the matrix and of control?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are, I don't know, institutionalized in a way that I actually just spoke with somebody who's been in the military for 20 years.
Mhm.
And she has like these 90 days of leave that she can take. And I was like, why can't you? And she was like, I want to take it in February. I was like, why can't you take it now? And she was like, "Oh, I guess there was something that was going to become official in February, so she thought she was going to take it then." And it was just like she had never even thought about doing it now. It seems strange to some other people, like you have the leave, why don't you take it? But I'm just saying that's an example of somebody who can be so used to the corporate culture or any culture that they can't think outside the box. And at the same time, we often sacrifice our health, our sleep, our kids, our spouse, so that we can produce and work because of this hustle culture, because our intrinsic, we talked about this, our intrinsic value of our self-worth, it's not from intrinsic values, I guess is what I mean. It's defined by how much output. So that's like external validation of self-worth.
Mhm.
So when we produce a lot, when we have a lot of output, when we're productive, I used to be like that. I would brag about how many things I could get done and like how many to-do
Yeah.
lists I used to check off. But actually now, I would brag about how much like one-on-one time I had free flowing 5 hours with my 1.5 year old on a date together.
I mean, your work is so fascinating because it's truly hits. It's a little bit, it's like scientific, but it's also psychology, but it's also sort of spiritual. And you're exactly right. Even, diving into my structure and what's broken, it's so true. It's like there's this validation. I told you, people around me are like, you're the hardest working person I know. And I'm like, oh, thanks. But meanwhile, I'm suffering in silence. And like, what am I actually, right? Like scrambling all day long, constantly feeling behind, the epitome of what we're talking about here. But just to back up for a hot second and give people a little bit of context, how, your work as a NASA flight surgeon, again, in such high stake, intense situations, from my understanding, you really would be a person responsible, right, for the astronauts' health and safety before, during, and after flight. And again, very intense. So how did that work? It seems oddly enough and so contradictory to freedom, right? Because that's like, no, you're in the weeds, the mission, get it done. So how did that now translate to productivity, MD, and time freedom?
Yeah, I think even if you're working for somebody, you can still attain a sort of freedom. Definitely in your household, starting first. So you will start having a little bit of time freedom if you delegate out the household tasks. Um, so I think in terms of time freedom, and so I was always the most efficient person that most people know, from the very beginning. So I've had the Productivity MD podcast, right as I was starting with NASA. So before NASA, really, like it was
Oh.
in production before NASA,
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
yeah, that's
got
been
it.
my zone of genius, in a way. And I
Oh,
just dove
interesting.
into peak performance what I learned in peak performance training, with the astronauts, how to keep them performing at their top conditions, not just healthy, but the top conditions.
Yeah.
And combined with the training under Stephen Collar, we endorsed at the Flow Research Collective for nearly a year as well on how to access flow stay on demand. And I would say I've been fascinated through NASA, through my training for ER, critical care. I've seen from the best peak performing humans to
Uh-huh.
people who are dead that pronounce. So
Wow.
I think in general, I wanted people to feel free, to feel peace, to have great relationships, and all that by upgrading their brain, their mindset, accessing flow, um,
Yeah.
tech free, drug free.
So that is the way to be. Yes. With that said, is it Anne as simple as again? Because when I'm like taking this into account, I'm going, and as hard as this seems and as big of a challenge, which we'll get to, I'm listening to her again. She is in it. She is in those moments. And you talk about peak performance. Um, with individuals, people like astronauts, when we talked yesterday, talked about athletes, talk about CEOs and leaders, right? Is it as simple? And I didn't realize your show and the Productivity MD was before, so I could see how they kind of go hand in hand and in tandem there. Is it as simple though as going, of course, when you are quote in flow, and when you recover, you're then able to perform better. Right? Because I would think that you would actually see that in your work at NASA and what you do, but is it that simple or is it more going on there?
Yeah, the simplest thing is actually getting enough REM sleep and deep sleep. So without that foundation, then you're going to decrease your longevity. You're going to have more wrinkles. You're going to get old quicker. So yeah, and your brain is just going to not function. You're going to be like drunk, essentially.
Like working on overdrive. And you saw even with astronauts, like when they would you see and implement even your philosophy here and what in your system, like when they do achieve that sort of flow, the recovery,
Hmm.
performing at a peak, would that actually be in practice? And you saw it firsthand.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a huge thing that as flight surgeons, we're always looking at their schedule. The astronauts have something called Optimus. It's like their
Okay.
entire daily schedule on the International Space Station that go in 15-minute increments. And they're scheduled 2 hours of exercise for 6 days a week. And their sleep period, they even have a pre-sleep period, a post-sleep period, the protective sleep hours because we need to keep them in top performance. So imagine if you can do that. And
Right.
they build in recovery, of course. And it takes a whole team. So imagine if you really prioritize your sleep, your nutrition. It sounds
Right.
simple, um, but I feel like if you do not get enough REM and deep sleep, you are putting everything else you do, all the medicine you take, all the caffeine you take, you're basically putting band-aids on on your brain.
So with that said, and you talk about, being an immigrant and achieving all this, and earlier we talked a little bit about, these systems or forms of control that's like we have to work this much, the output and validation and all of that. Where do you think that actually comes from
I think it
culturally?
Well, I think it's just US in general. I think it's just US in general.
Yeah.
Or maybe not actually. I know like in Taiwan, in Japan, people actually work even longer hours. They work a
Right.
lot. So the Asian culture, so I think it might be a global thing. I don't, unless you're like an islander, like more like chill island culture. But I think it's probably global. And I will say you talked about something yesterday. You love the femininity, and I fully embrace that even more recently. Before I've struggled with like putting on a masculine mask my whole life. In medicine, at NASA, it's a very masculine type of culture. The females wear cargo pants and things like that. So recently, literally I've been on a journey to become more feminine, to like fake it till I make it. But
Fake it. You're
finally,
gorgeous. Fake it. You don't have to fake anything. Fake it till
well,
you make it.
not the looks, but like the
The
going with the flow, the softness,
Mm.
the way you speak, like the way I'm speaking now is probably 50% slower than my usual if you like saw me like 2, 3 weeks ago. So swaying your hips more, like, but naturally, not faking it because you're embodying your feminine curves,
Yeah.
wearing things that really light you up, do your hair, your nails, things like that. Whatever that makes you feel soft and like water is what I would call it.
Well, she's the flow expert because that was going to be one of my next questions. It was about being boxed in personally, professionally, be it, the brains category, the beauty category, and navigating that. And where do you feel like is it a chicken or egg situation? Like, do you feel like, I am in this male dominated space where we have to, like you said, almost be masculine, and so that permeated into the household, or do people box you in without you even wanting that, right? Like, what's your experience like, personally and professionally?
So you're asking whether, what do you mean, like people are boxing me in? Does that sound similar to, just being ingrained in the culture? Just wanted to clarify between the
Yeah, so
two.
say, they expect you to be a certain way because of what you do. If you are too feminine, you'll get judged, or it's like you won't be taken as seriously, or no, 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 you shouldn't be as feminine. It's supposed to be like this. Do you ever feel a sense of that and navigating that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like especially in medicine, I think I took out my nose ring, I took out my cartilage ring, I took out my belly ring.
How interesting.
I used to dye my hair like red, pink, not anymore. So my eyeliner got shorter. When I got into more of the culture. Um, that was before. Now I don't really care anymore.
But who did that come from, Anne? Would it be colleagues? Would it be higher ups? Would it be guests on the show? Like, who clients? Like, I don't even know. Who would that come from?
It's like comments made by superiors or people who are mentoring you,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
coming from different people, just giving advice to a group of like young students, young med students, and things like that. And I think you hear it maybe from just randomly. I don't know, like don't just that there's a stigma of unprofessionalism, depending on how you look, or less capable. So even if I wear a white coat, this is why I wear white coats in the ER because often if I don't wear a white coat, they don't know I'm the doctor, or sometimes even if I wear a white coat, they would say like, "Oh, I haven't seen the doctor all day."
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely pervasive, not just in the corporate world, but everyone. They have
It's the
that.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the culture of that unconscious bias. I don't remember, is it intrinsic? I don't remember how they call it, but they're not even aware they have that bias.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's how deep rooted it is. And
mhm,
look, I experience it, and I've been on a whole journey myself with this very thing. And even, loved ones and family and people who love you, but it's like, oh no, maybe, are you gonna wear that? Are you sure you're gonna, that's how deep, and you're exactly right. They don't even realize it. But I'm glad that you're stepping out of it because first of all, obviously we know it doesn't negate any capability and what you're able to do or intelligence or anything like that. At all. But moreover, and we talked about this a little bit with my journey as well, is embodying what you're teaching and flow. And in my own ways, I trip myself up, right? Like we had this whole session, and you're like, right, your whole mission is to liberate people, to live on their terms, to not be in the matrix. And yet, here you are all day long in the matrix, scrambling, hustling, whatever, not truly living in that free flowing embodiment. Whereas with you, I feel like there's such a strong parallel there because your femininity isn't in true flow just yet, but you're
mhm,
you know you're and embodying again that very thing, right? How it really is, mind, body, spirit. And it's such an integral part to who we are as women. And that's the thing too. It's such a power. It's not just
mhm.
another element or another. It's such a unique power that just we have.
Yeah, I think, after going on the 7 day conference just only on relationships and learning about femininity, I think my misconception in the past of femininity is dressing feminine, looking feminine, but that's not it actually. It's way deeper than that. Masculinity is about like hunting, killing, collapsing everything
Yeah.
to singularity, but feminine energy gives life, actually. It's expansive. And masculine energy wants, and everybody, male and female, have masculine and feminine energy, and
Yeah.
we can use it at different times. But masculine energy wants a bigger house, bigger car, bigger gun, a rifle, whatever. But the feminine energy, oh, I heard this is beautiful. Feminine energy wants a really amazing, nice, beautiful gun. So we want like,
That's so well said. That gets it done. And I'll tell you, once
yeah.
I really embodied this journey and really lived it out, and I've talked about it for years. I've done big initiatives of like beauty and brains and all this, but like truly stepping into it, it actually, because it is such power, it actually does make me feel more effective and powerful. Like you talk about how it gives birth quite literally.
Mhm.
And it's can you tell everybody which uh conference type thing that you just went to? I know, but I don't know if you could disclose it that you just referenced.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's that I'm part of the Tony Robbins Platinum
Yes.
Partners, and every
Yeah.
2 years there's the Platinum Partners have a relationship trip that is truly one of the best trips that Tony has, and the reason is because most of us can be really great at business and work, but we suck. We
Yeah.
sacrifice our relationships for business, and one thing about feminine energy mindset is being like water, being soft and flowy. And this applies to yourself, giving grace to yourself. This applies to your parents. Worked with my mom. She has a masculine mask. And if I have a masculine mask on, like going faster or
Yeah.
argumentative, we just repel. But when
Yeah.
I was soft, she felt connected. Same thing with my kids. When I let things flow, same thing with my husband, same thing with the people who are our living nannies and our house manager. I realized I was treating everybody very outcome based, but business like, masculine like, and all these people actually what they need is feminine energy and more flowy and caring.
That really just hit. I have spurts of alpha for sure. Not perpetually, but spurts. But it's actually so crazy you say that because, in talking about, even reflecting on our session yesterday, with time freedom, I am so outcome oriented in life and it just does not serve me. Like I told you, it's like I feel perpetually behind, perpetually here, oh, I'm still aiming for this, right? And when you think about it like that, I never really viewed it that way, but it's so true. It's like how just being outcome, and I guess I could go for men and women, but especially as women, you're right, it doesn't serve us. It's just not the natural state. And how like the yin and the yang with men and women are ways of operating flow together. Again, no pun intended, but that's just how it works, and right how we're more effective and efficient. I also want to just dress you like my own Barbie. Now that you're on this, you're like, I don't can I just want to like take it upon myself and do it. Yeah. It's like, yes. What made you, Anne, not care anymore? You said you're like, I just don't care anymore. Was there a moment or a tipping point?
I think that definitely from the relationship trip, I started buying more
Oh,
flowy dresses, wearing more
okay.
heels, started dancing in heels more. I just remember back in the
Nice.
college days, I was like, I used to be able to dance in these heels, like, and jump, and I'm gonna go back to that. And just the fact that I realized, masculine, there's a place for it, but that's not where the true power is, I think, anymore. But
Yeah.
it's really hard to. I mean, I was working on for like, I don't know, almost 10 years. It is really hard to just literally 2 weeks ago, I was like, how do I be more like, what do I need to like the swaying my hips felt strange, but now I just naturally will sway it. So um so I realized the
Awesome.
power, it's more powerful and I feel great and this is who I am. And so I don't care anymore.
I'm so happy for you. I want to just be your, not that you asked for it, but I'm like, let me coach and mentor you and just show you the way because it is awesome. And you know what's crazy is I actually have been trying to be, I've faced so much friction lately because I'm trying to be something I'm not when it comes to more business oriented, asking for money, da da da. Like, and I'm like, this just does not feel like me. Don't get me wrong, like, don't mess with me, and I make shit happen, on my terms. But it's all these little things that, like I said, I don't know if it's just me or as a what it is, but just forcing and trying to be but I'm not almost honestly like you, like methodical and just like here it is and very like strategic and business minded and it's a challenge for someone like
Yeah.
me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. You can bring your terms. This is what I've been doing. I can bring my terms, but always kind of like a win-win situation,
Yeah.
collegial collaboration. Bring up win-win type of terms or negotiations. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a blend of masculine and feminine versus like
Mm-hmm.
cutthroat. This is what I want, and then you take
Yeah.
it or leave it.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what's so, as we kind of wrap here, what you're doing is, really sort of provocative in terms of restructuring how we fill our days in our time. We talk about the matrix and, before we joked about America being this like hustle culture. And it's provocative because we are also, the epicenter of innovation and advancement and right, the American dream and getting all this shit done. And what you're doing is going, I can get you to be working a 5-hour workday and spend time with your family and go on vacation. It's like, what? It kind of breaks our brains a little bit. So it's definitely unorthodox and like shaking the system in that way, which I really love. And I'm not going to lie, Anne, even yesterday, looking at my schedule and what I would have to do, it sort of seems contradictory to freedom because it's like, here's exactly, it's 60 to 90 minutes of this and then this. Um, but it's like freedom within that structure, I suppose. You're like, it's not
Mhm.
actually that hard. And so I think that really says something. Like when I went on my body transformation journey, same thing with this. It was all foreign to me, but I dove right in. I was like, let's go. And I want to do it with this, but this seems so much more intense and challenging. Now I know how people feel when they're like, the diet starts tomorrow. Like for me, that kind of stuff's not a problem. But this, I'm like, wow, it really sort of um, dismantles everything. So why is that? Is it just that it's again so deep rooted in how we're indoctrinated to be?
Perhaps, what we talked about flows like water, and then we need a container for the water to flow or drink the water. So, um, maybe it's just that, maybe it's a good time to talk about the chronotype. A lot of people don't know the chronotype. So they're actually working the opposite end of when their peak energy is. And I'll share if some people can actually diagnose themselves, like with the time freedom, like 5 stages of time freedom. And then they can at least like figure out what their next step is. But yeah, I think it's just they don't know their chronotype. They don't know such a thing as a chronotype. It's hard for them to figure out how to access flow. You can access flow stay on demand very easily if you're in your peak zone. And some people are kind of stuck in their schedule that's given to them too. So they have to, make do with their circumstance. So not everybody has the luxury to actually design their day.
That's
So
what I was gonna say. That's something here. And in like, I know it's hard, but in like 90 seconds, I want you to give everyone the chronotype breakdown. But also, right, if someone's going, I'm working 2, 3 jobs, I don't have the resources, I don't have the, what if they're thinking like this just isn't for me? I'm not a professional athlete, I'm not a CEO, I'm not an astronaut. What would you tell them?
oh, well, the first thing is like you've got to get enough deep sleep or REM sleep. So I would get a Oura ring or something similar and start tracking your sleep. That's like the easiest thing, because that will bleed into your family and also how you deal with yourself and the grace for yourself and patience for other people and your business. Number two, in terms of chronotype, I would think about the midpoint of your natural sleep. So that's without any alarms, caffeine, any like blue light, TV that's keeping you up or work that's keeping you up. So when do you go to sleep? When do you wake up? And you take that midpoint of your sleep, and that's going to determine your chronotype. So what that means, as an example, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., wake up at 6 a.m., the midpoint of your sleep is 2 a.m. Any midpoint before 3:30, you're a lark. Between 3:30 to 5:30, you're a third bird. And after 5:30 a.m., that your midpoint, that means you're an owl. So if you're a lark, midpoints before 3:30, your peak zone is actually between 5 to 9 a.m. You'll get 5 times the output if you put 2 flow blocks or maybe 3 flow blocks in that time to work. And then you intersperse it with recovery. If you're a third bird, your peak zone is between 8 to 11. So th- that's when you do basically all of your peak, like deep work. creative work, all of your meetings should be moved to the afternoon if you can. And as an owl, you actually want to wake up way late. I give you permission to sleep till 9 or 11 a.m. Okay. Don't try to fit in the culture if you don't have to of waking up at 7 or 8. Sleep all the way morning, do your recovery stuff, meditation, workout, and then your peak zone is like 4 to 9 p.m. So if you can just match when you do your deep work to your peak zone, then that already without outsourcing, you will be able to get way more output as well. And I don't know if there is time to talk about quickly the 5 stages of time freedom as well, so people know where they're at.
I'll put it in the description.
Hmm.
Because we're gonna wrap in just
Okay.
a minute, but it's all so valuable. And I think at the end of the day, it's really about living life on your own terms. Even when we were doing my schedule, you're like, okay, when could you end your workday, right? Because right now it's like 10, 11, and all the live long day. And I'm like, I don't know, 8 or 9. You're like, really? I'm like, okay, 7. You're like, really? I'm like, okay, 6. But I'm in my head, I'm like, I don't even know a world where my workday would end at 6, right? And you just asked me like, why? Why not? So I really just admire what you're doing because I feel like at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's taking ownership of your life and going, why not? Like I can actually literally set the rules for my life. So with that, last kind of question, and it's a twofold for you, is what do people spend, whether it's in hustle culture, whatever it is, the most the biggest waste of time they don't even realize? And secondly, what is just a pure mindset shift, I'm sorry, that they need to understand about just living a bigger life?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is probably I see a lot of people, of course, getting distracted. They say they may have ADHD tendencies, but I think part of it's because the TV or social media is so good at getting your attention. So the biggest thing is like distraction and the pings. That the biggest way to do that is to disable all sound notifications, all the red badges are gone from your phone. So you have no notifications at all whatsoever, except like phone calls coming in, and you only check once, maybe twice a day, of important things. So you batch check all of your incoming, inbound stuff. So you're not reacting in the morning. The mindset shift would be, how you validate your self-worth. Is it your number of certificates on the wall like I have in the past? I was just chasing certificates actually. Or now, are you going to change it to something where how much presence time I really one-on-one time looking in my kids' eyes, laughing, playing with them, how much time I've actually given my nervous system some rest, going to, sensory deprivation flow therapies, massage, or whatever. How much time I've spent actually in calm and peace, peaceful, parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, because I'm actually being kind to myself and serving myself. So I would say if you can change the mindset of how you define your self-worth and not your output and productivity and how much you can do in a short time, that's probably going to be the beginning of your journey. And maybe one last thing I'll say often is that we often tell ourselves we're working so hard for our family, and at the same time, we're sacrificing our family to get to that goal, which doesn't make sense because you never know how long your family is going to be here with you, or how long you will be here as well. So a month ago, I had a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old had a death in a car accident right in front of me. Just really showed me how in a split second that life could just be gone.
Wow. Wow. Heartbreaking, but really powerful note to leave it on. And again, like put in perspective why this is so important for anybody, astronaut or not. So, Anson, thank you so much. The one and only. And I'm literally going to dress you like my Barbie, whether you like it or not. So,
I love it. I love it. I love it.
thank you so much, guys. Productivity MD. Do yourself a favor. Check her out. Check out the 5 stages. Time freedom. You can trust me. Case in point, you can take the time and you will be so happy that you did. And thank you so much. I'm excited for much more to come together, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Taylor. And if you have any questions, they could go on the website, book a 30-minute call with me, or just
Awesome.
subscribe to the podcast and go diagnose yourself on 5 stages to time freedom and see what stage you're at and what you need to do to ascend.
Awesome. I looked at mine and it was like hot mess. No, we're getting there. It's a process. We're getting there. And I'm hoping for some real change to be you know, proof, walking proof. So living proof. So, Anne, thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it. Bye.
Chris, how was your pee break?
My pee break.
It might flash you undetected.
Random, baby.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
Let's address the elephant in the room. That's not the elephant in the room. There's no elephant. Nobody cares.
I too am a thought criminal. Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
But how much do you actually understand money, especially the new wave?
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk